Welcome everyone to our Build Your Own Brand Squad webinar today with Dr. Maribeth Kuzmeski. We're excited to have you. It looks like we have a good amount of people here on this webinar. So this is going to be a great little discussion that we have, and we're excited to get it going for the NIL space. As you know, for those of you who have not been on a StuCamp webinar before, we kind of start off with a couple housekeeping items and reminders of events and things that are going on in the StuCamp community. And then from there, we will introduce Maribeth and get her on with her presentation. And then we'll finish off with some Q&A time from you all. So if you don't mind, you can go ahead and put in the chat where you're from, where you're tuning in from, what school you're teaching at, even what classes you're teaching. I'd be super curious to know what classes you all are currently teaching or looking to teach in the future. That'd be great. I'm gonna butcher the first person to chat in his name, but looking forward to this. Hi from B Heat, University of South Carolina. Oh, and you teach consumer behavior. Welcome. If you have a nickname, that'd be great. Julia teaches marketing and entrepreneurship. Awesome. Let's see. We got Anita. Happy Friday from University of Louisville. Good to have you. Awesome. Oh, everyone calls me Abby. There we go. That's easy. Thank you. And I apologize for not being able to pronounce your name. Let's see. Entrepreneurship. Oh, I guess I'll introduce myself. For those that don't know, my name is Chad Gray. I'm a product marketing manager here at StuCamp. I'm sure there's been several of you who have seen me before and have heard me introduce Maribeth a couple times at least now. So this is gonna be great. I'm glad you all are tuning in and using the chat feature. Feel free to use that throughout the presentation to ask questions. Maribeth's going to be covering a lot of information today, so if you have any questions, just put it in the chat and she'll try and get to it as quickly as possible. If not, myself and Amber, who is another product marketing manager here, we will be monitoring the chat and keeping track of all the questions that get asked so that we can hopefully get to it at the very end. So be sure to utilize that. Okay, I did want to invite you all to join our Facebook group called the StuCamp Professor Community. You can click on that on the screen right here. If you're already a part of it, awesome. Utilize that to connect with professors, to ask questions, to get assignment ideas for several different things. But we just like to provide it to you as a means to connect and network with professors from across the world. And you can go ahead and join that group now. And then also, for those of you who don't know, I'm sure most of you do though, we recently launched our new NIL courseware bundle. And this is something very new to the education space that we're super excited about. Maribeth has done an awesome job with this courseware and with her class, and we're very excited to have her. If you haven't checked out the courseware or the simulation yet, do it today. Like, it's a game changer, no pun intended. And you will definitely enjoy it. And we're excited to have this added to the StuCamp product lineup because it is great. So go ahead and request access and get in touch with either your course consultant or your course specialist, course customer success manager, and they'll help you get it all figured out for your class because it's an awesome new addition to our product lineup. Also, for those that might be going through the process of adding an NIL course to your university, we have a course proposal document here ready for you. This is something you can use to basically go to your higher ups and say, hey, I want to teach this class. Is it something that we can get going here at my university? And how do I start that process? So this document, you just kind of fill in the blanks. We got it all filled out for you. So just go ahead and download that and use it to propose this class at your university. Awesome. So again, just a reminder, utilize the chat while you're here. This is your time to ask questions, and Maribeth will get to them as quickly as she can. Great. So thank you all for bearing with me as I do some housekeeping items. Oh, one last question I have for each of you. I would like to know whether you're an educator, an athletic director, in compliance. Where do you work at your university? That'd be awesome for us to know. Just chat it in what you're doing. Great. While you guys chat that in, I will go ahead and introduce our speaker for today. Dr. Maribeth Kuzmeski is a professor at the Spears School of Business at Oklahoma State University. She teaches several marketing courses, including personal branding, name, image, and likeness. Maribeth started the brand squad at OSU, which she will be diving deep into today. She brings a unique perspective and understanding of student athletes to her career. She has her son play D1 hockey, her nephew plays football at Wisconsin, and her nieces both played D1 volleyball and soccer. Maribeth is also the president of Red Zone Marketing, an award-winning marketing consulting firm with clients throughout the United States. And we are so very happy to have her on as an author and presenter today. And with that being said, thank you all for being here. And Maribeth, I'll turn the time over to you.
Well, thank you very much. I'm excited to talk about my passion project, which is the Brand Squad, which is part of the whole thing that we are doing at Oklahoma State to really help with this effort of assisting our student athletes with our name, image, and likeness. So I want to go through the background and what we're doing right now with the Brand Squad. But one of the most important things I think is that if you have any questions, put them into the chat. Let us know if you've got questions. We can stop throughout the presentation if you have anything that you'd like answered and you don't want to wait. So just go ahead and do that. So the Brand Squad, what is the Brand Squad? Well, as just a short definition, the Brand Squad is really a group of what started to be marketing students at Oklahoma State. Now it's marketing and sports management students. And they've been trained and certified to assist our student athletes with their name, image, and likeness efforts. So it's kind of like a marketing club for our student athletes. We pair up every Brand Squad member with a student athlete, and they're helping them with their social media and with deal opportunities and with making pitches and just everything that has to do with name, image, and likeness, and them being able to monetize their name, image, and likeness. So how did this all start? So this is what I'm going to go through today is an agenda. I'm going to go through 4 parts of the agenda. Number 1, how did the Brand Squad begin? Or how it began, and formation structure, Brand Squad activities, and then we'll open it up for any more questions that you guys might have regarding starting a Brand Squad at your university. So to start off with, how did the Brand Squad start? How did we get going on this? And it really started when our athletic department at Oklahoma State said, hey, we'd really like to have a course that helps our student athletes with their name, image, and likeness. And specifically, it was really important, and it is really important today because we wanted, and they wanted, the name, image, and likeness activities that our student athletes at Oklahoma State were doing to be successful. Why is it important that they are successful? Well, it's important for the student athletes. It's also really important for the university. When they're recruiting, they're being asked questions like, how's the name, image, and likeness happening at your university? And it matters for every team that we have. And we've got a lot of different teams at Oklahoma State. So I knew it was really important that we were successful at this. So they asked, the Oklahoma State Athletic Department asked the business school, can you teach a class on personal branding, name, image, and likeness so we can help our student athletes? And so the word came down to me and said, would you like to teach this class? And I said, are you kidding me? I would love to teach this class. And so I started last summer putting this class together and just figuring out all the different aspects that I wanted to have in this class, put the outline together, got everything approved, and kicked the class off. And so we have been having a lot of fun in this class and a lot of success with our student athletes in this class. However, as I was doing this, and I remember I was going to have a meeting with different people that were making decisions on this courseware, and I was thinking about, okay, what we're asking our student athletes at Oklahoma State and everywhere to do is we're asking them to go from student athlete, which is student and athlete, and now we're asking them to be a brand influencer. we're asking them to be an influencer. And I thought, okay, well, this is easy, right? This is every student athlete is going to have all the extra time in the world to be able to do this. And then I thought of my son. So, and I just kept picturing him. We had enough trouble when he was in college, and he's just graduated 2 years now. We had enough trouble when he was in college getting him, his focus was athletics. And we wanted his focus to be obviously education and athletics second. And we really had to work hard because of all the constraints that athletics, and he wanted to train, and he was always doing training and doing different things and rehabbing and all of the things that goes into being a student athlete, and then going to classes and studying. And I thought, there is no way that this child or any child that's like him is going to have time to figure out how to become a brand influencer. There's just no way. And I'm thinking, okay, this is really important to our university that we get this done correctly. At the same time, we're kind of setting them up for, okay, here's something else to add to your plate. In addition to all these things that we're already asking you to do, number one, be a student. Number two, be an incredible athlete. And number three, now, if we want to show that we've got name, image, and likeness success, you got to focus some of your time there. So not every student athlete is going to want to focus their time there, but I thought for those that do, we need to have some assistance. And so what we did was, I'm thinking, what about if we maybe go to the marketing club and see if there's some students at the marketing club who would like to maybe partner with and share ideas and maybe help out our student athletes who are really interested in their name, image, and likeness. And so we thought, that's a pretty good idea. I'm the advisor of the marketing club. I think I'll just go and ask. Now, meanwhile, I have to say this. As the advisor of the marketing club, I spend a lot of time, recruiting and talking to marketing majors and marketing students and students across the business school to get them into the marketing club. And we have a really fun, great club, but I've got to do some recruiting to get people in to the marketing club. When I whispered about the brand squad, and we didn't call it the brand squad yet, but I said, hey, would any of you be interested in helping out our student athletes with their name, image, and likeness, with their branding, with their social media, with their pitches? And I couldn't stop the flood of people coming in because they wanted to do this. They're like, oh my gosh, this is exciting. This is new. This is great. So I decided to call it the brand squad. We needed a separate name for it because it really wasn't the marketing club. It was the brand squad. And so that was the impetus of this, was marketing club. And let's do an offshoot of some students that are really interested in helping our student athletes. So that's how it formed. Now, when we talk about the structure, how are we going to actually get this to work? Because now I'm the pseudo advisor of the brand squad, and I'm thinking about all of the things that our compliance department at the athletic department is thinking about. Well, we've got all of these compliance issues. We have to make sure that people are going to do this right. And I was not in coordination with the athletic department. I'm kind of on my own trying to figure out, we've got to make sure that we're doing this right. So I got all the compliance materials from the athletic department, and we created a non-negotiable NIL compliance training course inside of our learning management system, which happens to be Canvas. We put this together because we needed to make sure that our students understood all of the rules. And so I'll do a little snapshot here of what it looks like, but we've got all of our NIL policies, which we make them read and take quizzes and really understand. We've got a whole section on just international NIL because that's very different, and there's all sorts of rules and regulations. And every university puts together what their rules and regulations are regarding this, but there's also some table stakes rules that we just have to make sure that our students understand this as they start working with our student athletes. We've got to be giving them good advice. And so we have every single student go through this compliance training. And in addition to that, we make them sign a non-disclosure agreement so that, if they're working with a student athlete, that information is private. And when the student athlete wants to get that information out, he or she can do that. So we make them sign and upload a non-disclosure agreement as well, which has been really important. And we do not do anything with our students in the brand squad until they fill out and complete this training. So that was the first thing that we thought. And it was just, part of it was just me thinking, I mean, now all of a sudden I've got this responsibility and I don't want someone coming back to me and saying, that some student did this or that. So the training has really helped. And it's great for just understanding what you can do, what you can't do, what all these rules mean. And then we decided, okay, so we also have to have brand training. So just because a student is a marketing major or a sports management major doesn't mean that they know all of sort of the ways, the best practices for doing branding. And so we took the parts of the courseware that we put together with Stukin, but that in the beginning, we've got the same exact thing, which is this, as you see on your screen. We've got 9 different chapters, and we want the different students to go through this training and then take a certification quiz. Not a quiz, it's more like an exam. But we make them do that to prove out that they understand things like engagement and how do you make a pitch? What are some best practices? What's a pitch formula? How do you work with your student athlete to develop a media kit? How do you develop a logo? All of these different things. And so we put all of this together. So they go through 2 kinds of non-negotiable training. Number 1, they go through the compliance training, and number 2, they go to the brand training. Okay. So then I also am thinking about myself as someone who's going to be overseeing this. I have to make sure I know what they're doing. I have to know what these students are doing with the student athletes. I don't want any questions to come back to me and say, what's going on over here? I wanted to know. So weekly update forms, it's a Google form that the students fill out regarding what they did that week with their student athlete. And then we have weekly brand huddles, which I'll talk more, brand squad huddles, which I'll talk about more, which is really, trying to figure out how we can stay in touch, continue training with our brand squad students, and then also how we can kind of just everyone share, what are you doing with your athlete this week? So those are the things that we had to figure out immediately. And then, okay, so we probably should become a formal club. And we were starting to expend a little bit of money on some of the things that we needed to do. And I'll talk about all the different activities that we do a little bit later. But we were thinking about, okay, so how do we do all of the things that we want to do? We need to be a formal club. So we sort of separated off from the marketing club and we put together a club structure. And the club structure is this. We had to put together a formal club charter, leadership application. We put together a mission and a vision, which we already had, but we had all that in writing. We have a constitution now of how we're going to operate and what the expectations should be for the students and the student athletes. We have a membership structure, which I'll talk about. And then we had to have some fees, and we have some unique kind of fees at the brand squad, which I'll also talk about in a second. So our membership structure looks like this, and we've got an executive board, and the executive board are 4 different leaders, and then also we've got a president, and then we have general managers. So we sort of took the term from sports, but we have general managers who lead our initiatives, and I'll talk about that as well and how they do that. Our fees are to buy a polo. You have to buy a brand squad polo, or you could buy a t-shirt. So anywhere between $10 and $40, or you could buy a hoodie, so that when we are out representing, because we're in the community, we're doing different things. Again, I'll talk about this in a second. But the idea is that we want to make sure that we are presenting ourselves really well. And we're not going to ask our students in the brand squad to wear, suit and a tie or something. So we've got brand squad outfits, and it's basically a polo shirt with brand squad, and then we have a name tag, and that's how we are moving forward into the marketplace. So that's the fee. We don't take any money in from our students who are part of the brand squad. They just have to buy one of the polos that we've got, or a t-shirt. Okay, so brand squad activity. So what exactly is the brand squad doing, and how do we do it? So starting off with, we have athlete assignments. So the brand squad athletes, so a student athlete will opt into the brand squad. And when they opt into the brand squad, they do that by filling out a form that we've got that asks them all sorts of questions about what team they're on, what year they are, what are they interested in, where do they really need help, and a few other questions. And then we have the same application, we also have an application for our students in the brand squad. And we also have an interview process now. So we have an application and interview process, but I do the matching of the student athletes and the brand squad members. And the way that I do that is I take a look at both applications. So our students in the brand squad have indicated, hey, I'm really good at X, Y, and Z. So I want to partner somebody with. So we had, for instance, we had a brand squad athlete that wanted to do a podcast, wants to do a podcast. So we partnered them with someone who has done podcasts before. And so that's how I still have control over who is matching and how that's working. So that's the first thing that we do in the brand squad is we make those athlete assignments. And then we have a series of things that we ask our brand squad students to do with the athletes. Now, they don't do all of these things all the time, but there's some certain things that they have to do. The brand audit is one of those. So you've got to go through and look at, and this is something that we do in our courseware, but you've got to look at what are the engagement rates? How are they standing right now? Do we need to clean up their social media, which frankly happens quite a bit, where we look back and we go, a brand, this is not necessarily focused on a brand. It might be focused on your friends back in high school, but let's focus this and make your social media presence ready for prime time for a brand. And so we do a complete brand audit and take a look at what they've got right now, what their last post was, what the Google search looks like, all of those kinds of things. And that is something that we absolutely must do. Then we develop a media kit and a logo. Now, the media kit sometimes needs to be done later after we get the social media all exactly where we want it to be, because we want to show great engagement and we want to show our engagement rates and our followers and all of those kinds of things. But the media kit is something that we start with right away. We may finish it a little bit later, but we also design a logo for each of our student athletes. And we've got training on how to use Canva and how to do all of the things that enable a student to be able to put together a logo. Now, not every student in the brand squad is putting together logos, but we've got a set group of people, and we'll talk about some of our initiatives in a moment. But the media kit and the logo are the things that we create right away. And by the way, we get student athletes to opt in because they want a logo. So it's one of the nice things that we can say, hey, we're going to develop a logo for you. Oh, really? I can put it on t-shirts? And yes, absolutely. So we develop a custom logo for each of our brand squad athletes. And then we help them design goals. So we like to look at SMART goals, like what do you want to accomplish? And it's not like I just want to make some money. Okay, specifically, what do you want to do? And we have the brand squad member work with the athlete to figure out what the goals are, what their specific goals are, because then we can go back and measure those goals, just like any business venture, and say, did we do it or did we not do it? Are we getting close or are we not? We don't do this every time, but sometimes if an athlete doesn't have a good brand already, like something that's more established, we'll do a SWOT analysis, and we'll do a SWOT analysis to figure out maybe what the direction should be, where their strengths are, where their weaknesses are. And this is something we also do. All of these things are things that we do in the courseware as well, because it's part of the certification that our brand squad students are going through. And then we do an entrepreneurial opportunity map, because there's some student athletes that say, I want to develop some products. I want to develop a line of clothing, or I want to do a podcast and I want to monetize it, or I want to create t-shirts or hoodies or whatever it is. And so we put together an entrepreneurial opportunity map so that we can then match the buyer persona with, okay, so who would be the people that might want to buy this? And it helps keep it really structured as to how we are going to help the student athlete. And then we do an audience builder, which helps figure out, because a lot of times we have some student athletes that have huge followings, but most of our student athletes at Oklahoma State don't have these massive followings. And so we want to figure out, how do we build the audience? And how do we build the audience based on their strengths and weaknesses and based on what we want, maybe the entrepreneurial opportunity map. We focus exactly and we try to hone in on how we can do this. And so you think about the learning that our students are going through as they're actively doing marketing. So it's not just you're reading a text and thinking about, well, I'm going to be doing some marketing when I get out in the real world. They're literally doing it for our student athletes as part of the brand squad. We have them do an NIL pitch. So we have them put together, how are they going to help the student athlete pitch, whatever the pitch might be. Now, sometimes there is an opportunity that comes in via the student athlete's email, and then we have to work on evaluating that. But a lot of times we're pushing things out. And the reason for that is, and I should have mentioned this before, but our brand squad athletes are not necessarily the star on the top team at the university. These are sort of the mid, it's the tennis team and the equestrian team. We have athletes from every single sport at Oklahoma State, but we're working with those that need more assistance with their NIL, not ones who are getting, their door knocked on already. We are looking to help them make pitches and help them reach out and find some good deals and good things that will help them with their name, image, and likeness monetization. Then we help them put together a communications calendar if they're going to post, like how often should you be posting? What kind of things should you be posting? And so we help them figure out those kinds of things, because sometimes they want to be posting from what happened before a game, what happens after a game. Maybe they're even in the locker room or whatever it might be, but how are they going to do that? What's allowed, what's not allowed? And we want to be able to work with them to be able to do that. And then with some student athletes, we will help them put together a marketing plan. And the marketing plan kind of walks through all the different aspects of how you create your name, image, and likeness, your personal brand for monetization. But all of these things, all of these exercises are part of what we have in the courseware. And so the courseware is done for our student athletes to go through the courseware and figure out how to do this for themselves. And then we have our brand squad students go through the courseware too, so that they can really understand the best practices and how to do this. And I kind of look at it now like our brand squad members are kind of like TAs for our student athletes, although it's really part of a group. But it absolutely is a cool thing, and it works. Then we have weekly brand squad huddles. So brand squad huddles are our weekly meetings where we bring everybody together, not our student athletes, but our brand squad members. And we talk about what we did the past week, what we're doing in the future, how we're doing it, who's having success, who's having difficulties, who's having trouble reaching the athlete or getting something done that they want to get done, or reaching out to a business and getting response. We share ideas, and we bring in speakers every single week. And our speakers include people that are working with professional athletes. We have businesses working with professional athletes. We have businesses that are coming in. We have different representatives of professional teams that will come in to our brand squad huddles. We've got training on video, how to do video, photo, how to do photos. How do you do different things like a podcast? Well, and we have our own podcast, which I'll talk about in a second, but we've got all of these training things that we bring in every single week. So part of it is for me and for the brand squad members to stay in touch with what's happening. The other part is, how can we continue to train and continue to help our brand squad members learn how to do this branding really, really well. Okay. Then we have initiatives. So every brand squad member is assigned to at least one student athlete. Now, they can also be involved in some of our initiatives. So some of our initiatives include community outreach, student athlete recruitment, brand squad member recruitment, social media, podcast, website, merchandise, huddle training, and fundraising. And the community outreach is, we're in Stillwater, Oklahoma. We've got Tulsa and Oklahoma City. We try to reach out to different businesses and brands and let them know about what the Brand Squad is doing, about Oklahoma State athletics, and about what the NIL rules are. So a lot of businesses are like, I would like to do this, but I'm not sure what to do. And so we reach out to the businesses and we sort of help walk them through what they would need to do if they were interested in doing this. We try to speak at Chamber of Commerce meetings and all sorts of different things so we can do that. Then we have student athlete recruitment because we want student athletes to know about this. And we've got 500 student athletes at Oklahoma State. To this day, not 500 student athletes know about the Brand Squad, nor have opted into the Brand Squad. And we think we should have about 200 student athletes in the Brand Squad. But right now we've got 50 or maybe it's a little bit more than 50 in the Brand Squad right now. Now they come in and out. When they graduate, they go out. When they go pro, they go out. When they decide that they don't want to do this, they go out. Maybe they feel uncomfortable. They don't want to do it. Whatever it is, they come in and they come out. But mostly our Brand Squad athletes come in and stay in because they find that it's successful. Now, we also do Brand Squad member recruitment. And the recruitment is really an interview process because, like I said, if I whisper that we've got the Brand Squad, we've got tons of people that want to join. So we have an application because there's time commitments. And so we want to make sure that someone is actually, that they're actually committing to the time that they can actually commit to. And so we do the interview process to see what kind of skill sets people have and what their initiative is. We don't really want to put them in the Brand Squads just so they can put it on their resume. This is not a regular club. This is a club where you're going to do some work. You're going to take a class. You're going to do other things. But we are a passionate group. And so we want to make sure that it meets with what we've got there. And then all the other things I'm going to talk about in a second. But let me go through some of these questions that we have. Let's see here. We've got, in developing logos, what kind of trademark search do you all conduct? And are the athletes advised on trademark registration options? So yes, that's a good question. When we do logos for our student athletes, we are not involving the Oklahoma State logo. So we're taking that off the table. Now, student athletes can use the Oklahoma State logo, but we have to get it approved through the athletic department, and that they're selling something, then the licensing fees get shared with them. But we're creating a logo typically that is a brand new logo for that particular athlete, and it is something that is not in existence. Now, we do trademark searches. We go to uspto.gov and we do a trademark search for, if somebody has something that's near or close to this, or maybe somebody has the same name as a student athlete. And now, so we do that, but we haven't run into a single issue in terms of trademark. And we haven't had any student athletes trademark their logo yet, but I'm sure that that's going to happen as well at some point. But trademarking a logo, trademarking a name is a longer term process, and it typically takes about 6 months to get that whole thing done from beginning to end, because you've got to have first use and all sorts of different things, which I don't need to get into right now. But we probably will have some student athletes doing that. Okay, so let's see what other questions do we have here. How much of your workload has Brand Squad activities taken over? What would you recommend for a faculty member thinking about taking on this structure, moving into their faculty workload? Okay, so yes, in the very beginning, I was doing literally everything. Now we have a club. So I have a president who is making decisions, and she's asking me, but I'm advising now as opposed to doing everything. I'm still pairing up the student athlete with the student athlete with the Brand Squad member, but that's the one activity that I am doing on a regular basis. And I attend the weekly huddles, but I've got someone doing all of these initiatives. So I've got, I'll say to the person who is the head of the initiative for our huddles and say, we really need training on Canva, or we really need training on video. Find someone, either a faculty member or somebody outside or somebody in the athletic community that can come in and help us with these different things, or the branding or the marketing community, whatever it might be. So I am spending a lot less of my time doing this than I did before. Now, I wrote the courseware, and the courseware, that was the hardest part of all of this, is to develop all of this courseware. That was the most time consuming part. And now it's just maintaining the courseware and making sure that the brand squad is running. That's why we have all this organization in the brand squad, so that we've got the checks and the balances and the oversight and everything. And we communicate all the time with the business school and with the athletic department, letting them know what we're doing. But it's not as much time as it was before, that's for sure. And it's something that I'm totally passionate about. So I don't care going to an extra meeting once a week to meet with my favorite students and talk about how they're doing on the brand squad. So I think you have to be passionate about it to do this, just like anything that you might add to your workload. Okay, so how many student athletes are participating in the program currently? So we have about 50. I think it could be closer to 60. But that's what it is right now. And for instance, in the last 2 days, I have 3 new brand squad athletes that have opted in that I need to place. So we get about 2 to 3 every single week. Right now, it used to be that we got a bunch in the beginning and then it sort of slowed. And now we are getting about 2 to 3 every week. Why? Because the word is starting to spread. Someone has success and they say, I've had a lot of success with this. You should probably talk to these brand squad people. And the athletes are like, oh, okay, that's great. All right. So yes, trademarking is expensive. That is absolutely true. I think you've got to be kind of a star athlete if you're going to, TB12 and trademark that and everything else. That's why we have not done that yet for a variety of different reasons. Successes, I'll talk about successes in a second. And working hard for something we hate is called stress. Yeah, that is absolutely true. Simon Sinek is very smart. Okay, so let's talk a little bit more about what we've got. So we created business cards, and these business cards are little square cards. They're about this big, and we hand them out to student athletes. If you're in a class with a student athlete and you say, hey, have you heard about the brand squad? And so we have them do that. We have our students also do that. So if we want to recruit more brand squad members, then we do that. We have a podcast. The podcast has been the most popular thing that we've done from a broad perspective. So we're working with individual student athletes, but we're also creating exposure on a larger scale for our student athletes. And one of the things that we do is we've got a podcast. So we created this from the ground up, and the students in the brand squad had the idea. I said, I think that's a great idea. Let's do it. And so now we interview our brand squad athletes. We don't interview just athletes. We interview our brand squad athletes. And right now, our first one got over 1,000 downloads. Kanine Williams, who's on the left side, I think he's probably close to 1,000 downloads, and that just came out. And Katie Pelzel's just came out. So we are getting a lot of action on this, and the more action that we get, the better it is. And we're not even on iTunes yet, so we don't even have an Apple Podcast yet. We are on all the other platforms, but it is seeing a lot of success. And so we help the student athletes promote their podcast interview, right? And so we've been finding that that's a great way to reach businesses and find out more about who this person really is that I may ask to be a sponsor of my brand. We have social media. We have an Instagram account. We've got LinkedIn. We've got an Instagram account just for our podcast. We have an Instagram account for the brand squad. I have general managers who are managing all of these things within our club structure. So someone manages the social media. Somebody manages the podcast. Somebody edits the podcast. Somebody records the podcast. So all of those kinds of things. And we're also on YouTube with our podcast as well. We have a website for the brand squad where student athletes can go to opt in, and also our students can go to find out more about what is this brand squad all about. But the great thing about this is this is where businesses can come and learn more about what is this brand squad and how do I do this. We've been getting a lot of media, and so when we get media about what the brand squad is, we are getting businesses reaching out and saying, hey, I'd like to maybe sponsor an athlete. How do I do that? And so we have gotten deals from our website because of the exposure we're doing, driving people in. Businesses have said, yes, I want to sponsor an athlete, and here's what I'm thinking about. And so then we start that process with them. Okay, so I'm going to answer a few questions here, and then do you believe setting them up as a business LLC? So It depends on how much income they're generating. If you're talking about the student athlete becoming an LLC, those are tax related and financial related questions. We have a course at Oklahoma State on personal finance, name, image, and likeness for our student athletes. And we have them go through that course as well. And it's an important course because it answers questions like that. At what point do you create an LLC? So we've got people at the university at Oklahoma State that help our student athletes with this, because one of the things that has been a big concern from the very beginning from the athletic department is, well, what happens all of a sudden they get this tax bill due? So they made sure not only were we teaching classes on personal branding, but from the business school, we're also teaching classes on personal finance. And we have a class on compliance as well. Less popular, but really important. Okay, so funding for the brand squad. Yeah, so right now we do not necessarily have the funding has been me buying podcast equipment. That's been the funding. But now, because we're an official club, we will get some money from the university and we can actually do some fundraising. Now, we don't want to do fundraising that is going to take away from our student athletes. Our goal is we're not an agency. We are not making money off of our student athletes. That is not the way we're doing it. And we feel really strongly about never doing anything like that. But we do need some money. We have students traveling on behalf, maybe going to Oklahoma City to talk to a business or something, like talk to a car dealership is one of the things that we've been doing. And so in doing that, we've got travel fees, we've got other things. We've got training. We want to bring in maybe some paid speakers at some point to train our brand squad members on how to do some of these things. And so we do need funding. That's why we created the club. To get some funding. We have a general manager of fundraising that is responsible for bringing in funds to, and I think we've got a goal of $3,000 between now and the end of the semester, which isn't very long, but we're not looking to bring in big money. We're looking to bring in something just to support us. And at some point we may have those polos paid for if we get enough funding, but that's how we're doing it. We are not designed, and we do not want to be a money-making entity. Okay. Are brand squad members compensated, or do they get course credit for their work with the brand squad? So we have them take the course using the courseware that is the Stuken courseware. We have them take that course, 1 credit or 3 credits. And they take the 1 credit or they take the 3 credits, they get the certification, and that's part of how they go through the brand squad. So they get that. It's not an internship. This is a club. It is a club. Now, eventually, we may change the way that we do that, because this is more of an internship than a lot of internships that the students that I know have had. This is really an internship. But I think we've got to figure some things out before we go into that avenue. But they are doing enough work that they could be doing that. Okay, so how many athletes for each brand squad student team? So we pair about 2 to 3 brand squad members with each student athlete. So we have 2 to 3 brand squad members with each student athlete. And we do that for a variety of different reasons, but we don't do a one-on-one, because some of the brand squad members, they're like, well, I don't have all of the experience that this particular student athlete needs. And they feel better working in groups anyways. They all do. So we do the group method. Okay. So are you aware of any compliance issues related to a brand squad type organization? So the brand squad, we've had a lot of questions about this, and I've actually talked to our athletic department about this. They have approved us being a club. They have approved and said it's okay from a compliance standpoint that we are working with the student athletes. What we cannot do is be funded by the athletic department, or to sit inside of the athletic department and then be, perhaps searching for deals for the student athletes. That we will never become. We are just a student organization, and our funding comes from the Student Business Council. So that's how we get if we get any university funding, it's from the Student Business Council that funds us. We are not an entity of the university, in that we are not paid by the university. We are not sitting in the athletic department. Okay, so I'm going to keep going here, trying to answer all of the questions. We are also doing an event coming up. So we've got spring football. During the spring football weekend, we've got tons of alumni coming back into town. We have asked our student athletes that are part of the brand squad, would you like to do an autograph signing event? And of course, they all say yes. And so we are in the process of scheduling that. That's for mid to end of April. And we are starting to do events. We also are starting to do something that is interesting. And I think that, when you're working with your mid-level athletes, you're not working with the star quarterback of the football team. You're working with athletes that are not so highly promoted. We are working on getting sponsorships for teams. So an equestrian sponsorship. Now, it's technically not a sponsorship for the team. It's a sponsorship with the athletes in the team. That's where the contracts will go to. But we are looking to have someone say, hey, this is what we want to do. Right now, we've got one in line, which I can't announce yet, but it's super exciting for us to say, hey, you don't have to be the star athlete on the team to be able to take advantage of your name, image, and likeness. And in terms of brand squad member outcomes, we really are focused on experiential learning. Obviously, this is what they are doing. These are lifelong personal branding strategies they're learning for themselves, and they're learning it and helping out the student athletes with that same kind of information. How do you engage an audience? How do you get more followers? How do you do these things that we learn about in our marketing classes, but now they're actually doing it for real, a live simulation. Now, we also have the sim in the name, image, and likeness courseware, but this is a live simulation. They're actually doing this for our student athletes. So that's definitely our goal. Now, I'd like to take any questions anyone has. I know people have been asking questions, and I can go back and look and see. But as you're thinking about your questions, I wanted to mention two things. Number one, if anyone is interested in more information, we've created a website called redzoneathletes.com. And what redzoneathletes.com does is simply support your brand squad efforts. So if you wanted to hire us to help you with your brand squad efforts, we will do that. If you just want information, we can share that as well. But we have a whole site with we do blogs on a regular basis. We get different people to do blogs. We do podcast interviews, things that will help you learn about how to create your own brand squad. And our success stories. So our success stories have been across the board. We don't have $1 million success story where, Nike came in and said, we want to sponsor this person and give them $1 million. We have not had any of those deals. We are Oklahoma State. We have a lot of wonderful alumni, and we've got just a whole network of business and individuals that really want to support our university and our student athletes. But our deals have been more in the range of, $200 for a post up to $1,000. So it's in that range, but it's starting to grow and it's starting to get bigger, and we're starting to do it across the board. Again, we have students from every single team across the university, and we're starting to see things happen. We started this in August, at the end of August, and we've been going through and focusing on this. So it is something where it's so exciting to see the successes happen, to see brands reach out. And, but yeah, we have a lot of nice deals that have come in that are nice for the student athletes. Okay. So let's see. Oh, someone wants to help do media training. Yes, we need that. We absolutely need that. Our brand squad student athlete school business only. Right now, our brand squad members are from the business school. That is it, from the business school. And that's part of our charter and our club. Now, if somebody else from our communication school, our journalism school wanted to be a part of that, we would allow that. We would have to figure that out, but we would certainly allow that. Right now, they're all business school students, and that's where we've been talking about it. So that's kind of why we have only business school students there. Other questions from anybody? Thank you, Andrea. Thank you.
Yeah, Maribeth, it seems like you did a great job of answering the questions as they came in. But we'll just hang out here for a couple more minutes to see if anyone has any other questions that are just lingering. Chime those in. I mean, we're here to help. We have about 10 more minutes of time, but if we go short, that's fine. Just wanted to give the opportunity to you all while we still can. So.
Yeah, and I think probably one of the things that you can hear is that I'm super passionate about this. And the passion keeps growing because the students in the brand squad are so passionate. We're texting on the weekends. We are calling each other. We're doing all this, and they're doing more in the background. And no one has complained to me that this is so much work. No one has said, you know what, I just can't do this. It's just so much work. We make sure that we've got the people in there that want to be there and love it. And when you love something, it's not stressful, and it's really good. So how long did it take to set up the courses, training, certifications before actually starting Brand Squad activities? So I was developing the course on NIL personal branding at the same time as I was developing the training and all the things for the brand squad. So it came together at one time, and it took about a month. And I would say that for other universities where you had a little bit more runway, that maybe you take a summer and you figure this out, or you hire somebody to help you figure it out. But we literally took 1 month to get the courseware where we're starting to do the certifications. And then I was continuing to write the courseware as we moved forward. The courseware didn't get written in 1 month, but that took a longer time. But we needed to have that initial brand squad branding training and also the compliance training. And that took about a month. So there's a ways to shortcut all of that, but it's about what it is. So you just want to make sure that as an advisor of the brand squad, that you are covering yourself, right? And you're protecting your university, and you're protecting your student athletes, and you're protecting your brand squad members. And that is done through just simply, checking everything that you possibly can, and crossing all your T's and dotting all your I's and doing all of that. But I hope that this presentation kind of gives a soup to nuts flow for how you could do it, and the things that you could do in terms of this. Okay, do the businesses work directly with the student athletes or the brand squad? So that's a great question. A lot of times it's both. So for instance, we have a merchandise deal that a student athlete is doing right now, and they're creating their own merchandise. They go with the brand squad member to the location, to the business, to work on that together. So it's kind of like, again, it's kind of like having a TA for doing that. So it is, it's an interesting way of pairing people up. So the student athlete isn't on their own. And we do advise with contracts that the student athlete reaches out to a lawyer or something if the contract is big, and we have had that done, because we are not lawyers and we are not in compliance, and we've got different people at the university that are resources for that. But there's a lot of things that you just want to make sure that you are doing. So it's a combination. It's always a combination. And in fact, Wendy, to your question, if a student athlete gets a request from a business directly to their email or a DM or something like that, they will reach out to the brand squad member and talk about it to make sure they're responding correctly, to make sure that they're thinking through this. Is this something you really want? Does this meet your, what you want and your goals? And so it's always a joint deal. Let's see. So the students in the brand squad start the semester by taking the certification. Yes, we also have a 4-week 1-credit course for the brand squad. It's the 1-credit version of the courseware that I have, but it's a 4-week program. So we have to get them trained up, and we will perhaps pair them with someone early, but they've got to finish the compliance training. But as they're going through the brand training, depending on where they're at in the process, we may put them with a student athlete paired with two other brand squad members. Okay, so can you talk to me about the deals the brand squad is helping facilitate for the students? Is it the facilitation of the deals the ultimate goal, or just something that's organically happened? Yeah, I mean, the deals are where it all comes together. And so the facilitation of the deals is a really important thing. We've done a couple of things. One, we've reached out to brands on behalf of our brand squad athlete. And we've also taken and kind of worked with the deals that are coming into that student athlete. So it's both ways. Sometimes it's we've got a yogurt company right now that is one that's interested in one of our student athletes. And so how did that happen? We reached out because that was something that student athlete said, I use this all the time. And so there's all sorts of deals like that are happening back and forth. But the brand squad is sort of facilitating all of this. But they're not a lawyer and they're not designed to be a lawyer. They're just facilitating. What's the messaging that you're using? How are you responding to these things? Is it professional? And by the way, from the perspective of the university, we want to make sure that they are representing our university really well, because not only they're representing themselves and their own name, image, and likeness, but ultimately they're also representing the university that they're at. And so we want to make sure that their messaging and all of that is really, really great. Any voiceover training offered? We do not have any voiceover training. That might be a good thing to do.
Awesome. I think this would be a good time to remind everyone about the courseware and the simulation. Building a brand squad at your own school might be, the next step after adopting the courseware, right? It might be something that takes a little bit more time. So if you want to get your foot in the door and get started with a class at your university, the simulation offers amazing experience for students. It's not like real life. We all know that, but it is something to get the students started. And obviously all of the activities and assignments and really resume building things in the courseware that Maribeth has provided are also great opportunities for students. So go ahead and check that out. And we just got another question in from Ernest. So if you want to answer that, that'd be great as well.
Alternate compliance training for brand squad members besides courseware. The compliance training is not part of the NIL courseware that Chad just showed. The compliance training is me taking the compliance information from our university. They've got pages and pages of all this compliance information that they actually show to the student athletes and say, here's what you can do and not do. We then take all of that and I put it inside of Canvas, and then created some quizzes and created that. So from the compliance training, that is all within Canvas, and that all has to be customized to your university. Some of it's just going to be the same, but some of it's going to be a little bit different. Okay, what is the average time for each member dedicates toward the brand squad per week? So we say you've got to have 3 hours available. Now, 3 hours is all we're asking them for per week. Now, I would say that our leadership team is spending more time than that because they want to, but it's about 3 hours a week, which is also why we pair people up together when they're working with the student athletes. And we've got the general managers for each of the initiatives and then members of the brand squad that are working on each of the initiatives. So everything has sort of it's not one person doing all of this stuff, but we were trying to split up all of the responsibilities. So thank you for that question, Owen.
Awesome. We do have a couple more minutes, so we'll kind of start wrapping up, but I just wanted to thank everyone for being here, and Maribeth as well. Thank you. This has been an awesome discussion. I'll just go ahead and let you, if you have any last words, go ahead and wrap it up for us.
Yeah, I would just say that the brand squad has been something that has been unbelievable for me as a professor at the university. I've only been at Oklahoma State for 4 years, and this is the most. If I had all of my students in my principles of marketing class and my content marketing class, if I had them all as excited as they are with name, image, and likeness in the brand squad, I would absolutely go crazy. It would be so awesome. I've never seen students be so interested and so engaged as they are in the brand squad. And so if you're even thinking about creating it, this is a great way. It's rejuvenated me, and it's really brought some students out of the woodwork who weren't involved in anything and now are so passionate about being part of the brand squad. So try it.
Awesome. Yeah, thank you again, Maribeth, for being here. And for those of you who are still on, if you enjoyed this webinar and like learning and chatting with other professors and everything, we do have our StuCan Digital Summit coming up in next month, I believe. And if you register for that, there's 3 or 4 sessions that you can be a part of and take part in. It's about a half-day event. So we're really excited for that. And if you can attend, go for it. It's going to be a great event. And if you can't, just go ahead and register anyway, because we send all the information and handouts to those who register as well. Just like today, we'll send you an email either later today or by Monday with the recording of this session, with the slide deck and all the other handouts as well. So no need to worry about that. We got you covered. So anyways, thank you, Maribeth. Again, this has been awesome. We're super excited for this courseware and the simulation, and thanks for sharing your knowledge.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.